How money works making fun of boomers and house pricing crashes. That's up our fucking alley a lot. Let's see. This is called But That's My Nest Egg. And I assume it's about a theme which I have considered pretty damn important, which is that, yes, we've built a lot of our economy around rising housing prices, but eventually we have to correct it, which will understandably mean boomers losing some money. And I know for some of them that will be painful and it's sad, and I do agree. People at the margins that lose the wealth they put in their house, it's not good. But we can't do anything else, bro. They can't keep rising like this. Young people cannot afford a home.
The most real estate-centric economies on the planet, house prices have been doing something they weren't supposed to be allowed to do. They are falling. Chinese real estate, once the single largest asset class in the world, has fallen consistently for the past 36 months straight. Canada is, so far, down by over 20% in certain cities.
This is gonna be crash out though, and I'm gonna say something because you guys are probably all about to say, I'm not even looking at chat, I know you're saying the same thing. Whenever a headline comes out about China's real estate crashing, people in the comments now, this didn't used to happen, but now they're doing it. They flipped too far. They go, oh, housing as an investment is a bad thing. China's brilliant. It's just frustrating because China made housing the biggest investment ever for everybody for decades. Nobody treated housing like an investment more than China for decades. They blew the largest real estate bubble of all time. This wasn't like some planned thing. You guys are acting like that was like some brilliant plan. They let it get so incredibly bad, and now it is unwinding and it's causing pain all over, not just in the wealthy people. I agree that you have to pop the bubble. I agree. I think what they're doing has to be done, but they waited until it had to be done as long as they extended it. It's become this weird, like, oh, it was all part of their master plan. I just think that's very frustrating, but okay.
Now, for the past 2 decades, the assumption has always been that government would step in to stop house prices from falling too far before it turned into a full-blown economic crisis. And well, up until recently, government actions have kind of suggested that this would always be true. Even policies that were explicitly targeted at making housing affordable were actually just thinly disguised ways of making houses more expensive.
Yeah, 100% fucking true. And I don't know where he's going with this yet, but I would say it's still true. I would say it's still true. I think the government still try. It becomes harder if you blow the bubble so big, but they're still trying. I think Trump explicitly said, not but 2 days ago, I don't want housing prices to fall, I want them to go up.
China has enacted strict financing regulations on property developers, Canada is loosening zoning and tightening migration, New Zealand has cut down on building restrictions all while their markets are already falling. And, well, it doesn't look like it is stopping with them either.
Okay, wait, the timeline that's wrong though. I mean, well, I would disagree. The 3 red lines policy is what started the unwinding of the China bubble, and they have since retracted this. They added this policy, and then all of a sudden Evergrande could no longer get financing, and they started the collapse, and that began the cascading, and then they pulled back to try and prevent the bubble from popping too quickly. So it's not like this is happening as it's falling. It's like this caused it to fall, and now they're like, oh fuck, oh fuck.
Here at home, in the very same week, America just passed the, mostly bipartisan housing affordability package. A major bill that directly addresses a lot of the problems in the housing.
Yeah, kind of cool affordability bill. Trump canceled the signing because he said we have to focus on more important things like fraud in elections. And we need to pass the fucking SAVE Act so that I can have more control over the upcoming midterm elections. And he's like, I will not sign this bill to make housing more affordable until we get these elections more rigged.
So what exactly has changed? And who is actually going to pay the price for this sudden reverse of course?
First thing I'll say is, like, especially in Canada, it hasn't dropped anywhere close to reasonable yet. Yes, they're dropping, but it's got so much further to fall. Like, if you still look at Canada housing prices, it's like they're down to fucking normal. It's like they're collapsing. They're like trickling down from the absurd heights. So there's more to go. And I still think that they haven't reached the true pain threshold point yet where governments usually step in. All this stuff we're talking about now is because, you know, the stock market's okay. Things are only slightly down. The boomers aren't feeling the pain yet. Once they really like go, oh shit, my house is worth way less than I thought, That's when the fucking pump starts coming in.
First-time homebuyers couldn't break into the market, so we let them put 1% down, co-sign with their parents, access their retirement savings to use as a deposit, pay off their loan over 50 years, and in some extreme cases, even partner up with the government to qualify for a loan to buy a poorly constructed studio apartment.
Dude,
you know?
Australia is crazy. I think Australia's, I guess, finally starting to try and unwind some of their horrible policies, which is good, and I respect it. But for so long, they've done so many things to try and pump the prices to do every possible thing to make it easier for it to take out a massive loan and buy, and then keep you locked in on buying. It's just all subsidizing demand, and they've probably been the most extreme of it. I heard if they do one last housing bubble pump, everything fixes itself. Yeah, that's what they don't tell you. It's the guy mining for diamonds. If you make a 75-year mortgage, then it's solved. Everything is figured out. Everyone can afford it. The housing prices don't rise to accommodate the new demand. It's just everything evens out and you're good.
The 21st Century Road to Housing Act just passed the House 358 to 32 and the Senate 85 to 5, making it one of the most overwhelmingly bipartisan pieces of legislation this Congress has produced. Now, as a bit of a political sideshow, as of the time of making this video, President Trump is currently refusing to sign the bill into law, reportedly because he wants to use it as leverage to push the Save America Act through first. Now, the good news is that politicians politicking doesn't really matter here, because with those margins, it has a veto-proof majority. So it will become law with or without a signature.
Interesting.
The bad news is that, unfortunately,
I didn't know that. I didn't know it had a veto-proof majority. It's going to happen anyway? I thought for sure he was going to hold it.
The first is that the bill offers incentives to local governments that loosen up zoning restrictions to allow for more homes to be built.
Beast.
Basically, the Department of Housing and Urban Development is going to be handing out grant money to any city that agrees to let developers build more densely and in more places.
Great.
It sounds good, but it gets better.
Okay.
The second big component of this bill is the significant streamlining of the red tape around small homes, factory-built homes, and small factory-built homes.
That's beast!
The biggest single change being the elimination of the permanent chassis requirement, which in the past meant that manufactured homes had to be built on a metal frame with wheels and axles even if nobody ever planned on moving them. Clearly, modern pre-manufactured homes have moved well beyond the trailers, and even though some factory home builders have found loopholes around this law, it's still a lot cheaper to not have anything to jump through in the first place.
Yeah, seems fine.
Eliminating this strange rule alone is expected to bring the cost of each manufactured home down by $5,000 to $7,000 according to the Department of Housing.
Imagine buying your hovel on Amazon. I'll call it a hovel, dude. Nobody wants to buy. That's my biggest concern with these, by the way, is that it's like, it reminds me of like small cars. It's not about affordability. I think Americans genuinely don't want to buy these, even if they're useful and good. We'll see. I just have this feeling that Americans, like as a taste, regardless of income, will not buy.
The American housing market is really dozens of different market regions all behaving somewhat independent of one another. And while some markets have remained strong around certain cities, a lot of the country is already seeing pretty significant drops in housing prices. As of May, national list prices were down 2.4% year over year, with prices falling in 41 of the top 50 metro areas and drops recorded across all 4 major consensus regions. The biggest
Melody Wright called this, by the way, to the letter, to the date. Been incredibly on point with her predictions. GOAT status. You go back, you can read her talking about this shit early.
And there are some pretty clear reasons why this is happening even before the new laws take effect. The first is interest rates. Mortgage rates have effectively tripled from where they were when housing peaked, meaning that by simple arithmetic, people just cannot borrow as much as they could a few years ago with the same income. The second is that internal migration patterns have shifted. People are still moving
a little bit more on that. The interest rate thing was like, so interest rates cost of borrowing money. They've been high since 22. There was this thought that like, survive till 25 and they'll come down. Survive till 26, they'll come down. Haven't gone down. Survive till we get a new person in after Jerome Powell. But then Kevin Warsh comes in and in his very first speech, he's like, he didn't say whether he's gonna raise or lower interest rates, but his speech was like, inflation is the biggest fucking problem and we're gonna beat it no matter what, do or die. So it's been changing everybody's outlook. He seems like a guy that's not going to cut. Now, I don't know. It all remains to be seen. He's talking so tough, but he may actually just do what Trump wants. He definitely was more, hawkish than you'd expect in his first meeting. He was like really serious about it. So that being said, for Kevin Warsh, everybody talks tough till they're punched in the mouth. I do think if we get any shakiness in the stock market or the housing market, like dropping significantly more, they're gonna fucking cut like crazy. They're gonna cut to zero, dude. I promise you.
But the third and probably the most underappreciated variable is insurance costs. which have become a major deal killer, especially in certain regions of the Sun Belt. To buy a house with a mortgage, you need to hold home insurance, and there are now a lot of parts of the country that have become borderline uninsurable. In Florida, the average annual home insurance premium hit $8,292 last year, up 18% in a single year.
Here's the thing. This is fucking woke mob bullshit. Climate change is not real. Building in Florida, no matter where it is perfectly safe and nothing will get worse. Okay? I'm sorry, but I just have to say it. There's not gonna be any more hurricanes. There's not gonna be more floods. Fucking build. And nobody's more woke than insurance companies are trying to pretend that the premiums are going up because of the increased risk. Okay? But it's because they're woke. Yeah, I think they did. They banned the phrase climate change in government communications in Florida. And they also, I believe, I'm a little hazy on this, but so many insurance companies have just pulled out of Florida altogether because they're like, there's no way we can make any profit. There's going to be disasters. We will have to pay out for sure. So they all pulled out. So the government had to step in and create their own insurance fund that is not funded. So if there is another disaster in Florida, the government is on the hook for billions of dollars of damages that they're not ready to pay. And they're cutting property taxes so they can't even fund it with anything. It's just a big fucking toss-up question mark.
On top of all of this, those very same investment firms that have bought up all of those single-family homes over the last decade were kind of heading for the exit even before this law was passed, trying to get out ahead of what they clearly see as an incoming market correction.
Yup. Melody Wright called this too. We talked about this earlier. For fucking 2 years now, people in the chat have been saying like, we have to get the big fucking firms. We got to get BlackRock and Blackstone. Wait, I forgot which one. BlackRock out of the housing market. And I'm like, bro, they're already getting out. They're already running for the fucking hills, dude. They don't want to be in the housing market. The housing prices aren't going up anymore. They're already running. So it's like, yeah, we can ban it. We guess we should, but it's not, that's not the problem anymore. If anything, I'm worried about things like the Mark Carney thing, where private equity or private developers are going to be like, you know what? We should not be allowed to own these homes. Let's make a law that bans us from owning it and compensates us as we get rid of it. And then we're going to do a fucking taxpayer bailout to pay for all of these homes to take it off their books. And it's like, oh, I guess, you know what? You got us. We're off the, we can't own them anymore. That's what it seems more like. It's like they just bought a bunch of homes that are about to lose them a lot of money. And if we make it illegal and somehow pay them for it, I'm gonna be furious.
If prices drop because more housing is being built and supply is catching up to demand, that is a healthy market doing exactly what markets are supposed to do. Okay. Denver right now is a decent example of this. Home prices are down over 2% year over year. Rents have dropped even further, and renters in the city are understandably celebrating. One 29-year-old medical resident who NPR interviewed just moved into a bigger apartment with bigger amenities that he previously couldn't afford, but can now because rents have come down.
And if you live in like Austin, living in a city where rents are falling at a good clip is so awesome. It feels great. The deals you get are fucking incredible. All of these like Greystar or whatever will offer you like 2 months rent free. They'll do some crazy shit, bro. It's awesome.
One additional factor, for what it's worth, is that even for people who do view housing purely as an investment, they have to recognize that their investment returns have largely been propped up by very accommodating government policies that protected the housing market.
No, they'll never realize it. They'll never admit it. They will plug their ears and scream, dude. It was their smart thinking that got them this fucking tripling in housing prices or 10xing. They bought it in the fucking 80s or 70s for $100,000 and now it's 1.1 million and it's because of their brilliance. And then they keep voting for no new zoning, housing bailouts, and people that fucking push interest rates down. It's absurd. Like, the only reason it's grown so much is because of government intervention. Now, when government tries to fix it, you're like, wait, don't get involved.
However, there are still genuine risks here. Falling house prices become an actual economic problem when people are over-leveraged in housing, when the financial system is using it as collateral, and when other sectors of the economy are dependent on housing values continuing to go up. And well, we kind of take all—
Even if none of those things were true, they are true, but even if they weren't, just to be clear, there will be pain if housing prices fall. It's a massive asset class. Boomers are doing a majority of the spending. The top end of the K is doing a majority of the spending. If they feel poorer because their houses is like much less in value, they will spend less and the economy will slow down. And that sucks. It's not good, but it's just the way it has to be because people have to live in homes and nobody under fucking 35 can get in a home. So you just have to, like, we just have to do it. I understand that it's painful, but being like, well, it's painful, so we can't do it. It's just, there's nothing around it. Otherwise, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. The longer you wait, the worse it gets.
If the music really does slow down, someone is going to end up in a bad position. And overwhelmingly right now, that is people who have only just purchased their homes with minimal equity. If you have bought a house in the last 2 or 3 years, especially after 2002 when rates were already elevated, you might be sitting on a mortgage at 6+% with very little buffer between what you.
This is who I feel the worst for. It is true. I think it's fucking terrible. It is tragic. Basically, anybody who like post-COVID, especially like 2023 or later, people that bought a home because they're fucking aged to the right age and they want to start a family to begin their life. I mean, housing prices drops are going to fucking wipe them out. But what are you going to do? I mean, a lot of people will just live in their home. They'll just live in it. They're going to take a financial loss, which sucks, but my God, dude. It's like, they will still have a house. I mean, it depends, right? I just want to be super fair. I want to be super fair because there will be people who don't deserve to get hurt that will get hurt. And it's not fair. But like the vast majority of people that will get hurt if your housing prices drops are the wealthy boomers who have to get hurt to reset the system. But like, so let's say you are 34, you just bought a home, high rate, huge price. Price drops, you're now underwater on the house. You're paying more on the house than it's worth. It's pretty miserable, okay? You're not building any wealth at all. That's bad for you. Additionally, because the boomers have now lost wealth, the economy is slowing down. They're not spending as much. Maybe you lose your job or you get downgraded or get your hours cut. Now you're underwater on a home and you have just lost your job. Now it's a full-on bad situation. Now it's like, oh fuck, I've made a terrible financial decision that's ruinous. That is a real thing that will happen to real people and it fucking sucks. I'm not trying to be glib about it. I'm just trying to be real that like, we can't use that one example to avoid the larger picture of the vast majority of homes and wealth are with these people. And we keep trying to prop it up to keep them happy and spending. And it's preventing these people from ever even getting on the ladder.
But young people are still by far the most supportive demographic of these policy changes. Yeah. Now, to play devil's advocate a bit, there is one growing sector of the economy that may be hurt by this market correction more than most people are realizing, and that is aged care. Over the last 2 decades in particular, this industry has grown up around effectively harvesting the equity from people's homes to fund slightly more comfortable end-of-life care. Reverse mortgages, cash-out refinancing, or just selling the family house outright to pay for a spot in.
Who the fuck cares? Why I give 2 shits about the fucking end-of-life conversion industry? This is private equity fucking boomer siphoning slop. I do not care about that. That's not an industry that I give one solitary fuck about protecting in any way.
Facility. There are a lot of old people as the baby boomers enter the twilight years, and things like aged care facilities have become incredibly expensive because, well, they could. Residents have been showing up with houses.
I think every old person should be required to gift 500 subs on the way out. It can be to other streamers, but maybe me, I'm included. They should have to take some of that wealth and fucking dump it into the streaming ecosystem.
It would also be irresponsible to not at least mention the wealth effect of number going up and the consumer pessimism that comes from number going down.
Yeah.
A lot of people are spending based on the fact that they have a fully paid off house that has doubled in value in the last 5 years.
A lot of old people.
Sometimes even with the help of a cash out refinance, which has always ended super well. It is irrational, but when the number on Zillow drops by 15%, the instinct to tighten the belt follows pretty quickly.
Yep.
A stock portfolio dropping is one thing, but for a lot of American households, their house is their primary wealth.
But think about that, dude. Just think about that. A bunch of boomers with paid off homes feel a little bit worse because their Zillow shows a less number. And then in return, people can actually afford housing. I do understand the cost, but come on. So sad, I'm crying. Real wealth is self-worth. Okay, why don't you send me all your money and I'll give you a compliment? That way your self-worth rises, I have your useless cash, and it's a win-win.
And unlike stocks, you can't sell 10% of your house to cover expenses. Now, to be fair, most economists who have weighed in on this are not predicting a 2008-style collapse from any of these policy changes. Lending standards, despite our best attempts, are still significantly better than they were back then. The securitization risk is lower, and the underlying demand for housing in this country is still very real. Now, all in all, this might all sound pretty
based
good,
on region,
but
I'm not going to say whether it is or isn't happening. I'll just say that everything you said could have been said before 2008, to be honest. Economists didn't predict it then either. And they would tell you the banks have great lending standards, and they would You know what I'm saying? It's like, you don't know who's naked till the tide goes out. It's like, we don't know. We could be setting up for an equally big bubble. Maybe the bubble's migrated over to auto loans and credit cards and everything else, but I'm skeptical that like Wall Street learned an incredible lesson. I actually think, but you know, this is what Melody Wright said, but I think the banks have learned a lesson and done way better lending standards. But the problem is that people just go outside the banks. They go to the shadow banking system. They go off grid, and they have made just as bad dog shit loans as the past, and it's just hidden. And when it all comes out, it's gonna be like, oh fuck, there's billions of dollars of terrible loans out there, but they're just off the grid. They're just off of the normal banking system. Hey Shrek, when you were doing marketing stuff before 2008, how did it feel compared to now? Was there a looming feeling? How old do you think I am? I was playing Pokemon in 2008. What the fuck? You think I was out there in the business world moving and shaking? Back in 2008, I was playing Pokemon and I was putting people with no job or income into subprime housing loans. For the fun of it. Yeah. Is there a problem with that? I just did it for the fucking thrill. You're playing Pokemon now, ain't shit changed. I guess that's true. Dude, in 10 years, you'd be like, what were you doing in 2026? Well, you think I am? I was playing Pokemon. Well, you're mid-30s.
Prime Minister Carney recently announced a $1.5 billion program to buy up unsold Vancouver condos and convert them into rent-to-own affordable housing, which a lot of people are, probably correctly, just seeing as a developer bailout sold to the general public as an affordable housing program.
Yeah.
The government says the developers won't turn a profit on these sales, which is something. But they also won't be exposed to the catastrophic loss they would have endured had the government not been there to socialize their losses.
Lost a lot of money.
And then there is Australia, potentially the most cooked housing market on the planet. They're phasing out negative gearing on established property starting next year, which was the tax loophole that let property investors...
Listen, bro, if I bought a house at too high of a price and then it starts cratering, the government does not step in and make me whole. They don't step in and say, okay, baby girl, you're okay. We're going to make sure you don't take a loss on this bad investment. But if they're fucking big enough and they have connections to the government, they seem to always get it. They seem to always make sure that they don't take a big fucking loss.
But anyway, they are joining these other countries with significant housing reforms, and they're additionally overhauling the capital gains tax discount to significantly reduce the incentive to treat housing purely as a speculative investment.
It's so beast,
These were once the supply side and investor deterrent policies that were once considered...
I'll just talk about it here because we're talking about it. And again, I don't know the exact specifics. I know the broad strokes here. Australia's Labour Party made these changes to stop housing being, because right now in Australia, the magic of negative gearing makes it so that owning a house is almost required in order to offset your taxes. It's so powerful of a tax advantage thing that people are encouraged to take out no matter how big a loan to make sure you get a house. And then you can use the house to offset your taxes, and it's okay. And so it makes the housing prices bid up and up and up and up and up, and then the numbers are astronomical. And so they're fixing it. They're actually changing it. But the way the law is written is that it only changes for basically new builds and new buyers. And if you're older and you've already got one, you're grandfathered in, which is really weird because it creates this two-tier tax advantage system where older, wealthier people get advantages for taxes. But I understand that they couldn't shock the system too much. They couldn't shock it. They're like trying to fix it without like causing chaos. So I get why they're doing it. And I think it's like a positive step. And like, there's obviously a lot of like slander thrown against it to try and stop it by wealthier developers and people. So I think they're on the right track.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to keep on learning how money...
Good video! How money works! Yeah, it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. I do hope, I don't know, I guess I'm not that hopeful that the government will allow boomers to take any pain.